and that in ancient Egypt, they believed that Bast, B-A-S-T, was the mother of all cats on earth because cats were sacred animals. In the Bible, Eve is credited with being the mother of all the living. In the vast majority of world's languages, the word for mother begins with M, which reminds me, that is the theme for this month. This is only the second week, so I should remind you that the theme for the month of May here at our center is M&Ms. And so people have been asking me, what the heck does that mean? Is it candy? You don't eat candy, Duchess. Yes, that's true. But the M&Ms was starting with the month of May, Mother's Day, memories, music, mind over matter. I just kept coming in with M's. And to acknowledge and honor 4 of our community members that are going to Italy, I thought today is Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia. It's 2 M's, it's Mother's Day, and even though my father was the Italian, so I guess it would be Papa Mia next month. My mother wasn't the Italian, my father was, but Mamma Mia, because we're talking about my mother, my mom. Well, no, I don't mean my mom. We're talking about the mother within, Mamma Mia. And what I want us to get to is really acknowledging that fact about the mother within each of us, no matter what our gender, no matter whether there's been a biological birth that's been in our history and our lineage, that it's about that mother nature within us. And I had specifically wrote an affirmation this month for that. This month, I give myself permission to nurture my nature. So no matter whether you're male or female, no matter what age or level of spiritual growth, that this is a month, an opportunity by which we may give ourselves permission and be willing to nurture the nature of God that is within each of us. A couple more little bits of trivia that I did like. August is the most popular birth month in which to have a baby, with the expected 360,000 births that took place when this statistic in 2001. I was born in August. I told you that, every once in a while it gets a little personal. Then Tuesday is the most popular day of the week in which to have a baby, with an average of more than 12,000 births taking place on Tuesdays. I was born on a Tuesday. Well, the reason why that's significant, although it did catch my eye, is it's rare that I'm in a grouping that's considered popular. I'm usually the one on the fringe. So I thought, how many were born on a Tuesday? You have no idea? Oh my God, we could have okay, do not distract me. Okay, we'll talk about that another time. I'll explain that later. All right. So, this has been just a very unique past 24 hours. I want to give you a little bit of story because Reverend Kathy played an exquisite song this morning, of which I wish to find out and get a copy, called Every Heart Has a Story to Tell. And she wisely and presciently chose that because of what it said in terms of the heart nature that she spoke about in the invocation and the love. And every heart has a story to tell. And I thought, that's beautiful. That's so Mother's Day. And there was a line in it that I got the tissues for. I was doing fine until the line about the first day of ballet. And you talked about your grandmother who just made her transition, and I thought about my grandmother who raised me, who I thought was my mother, because my real mother was working 2 and 3 jobs. So I didn't see her. I didn't know that she was mother the way that we all know what mother is. I mean, they told me to call her mom, but I thought that was her name. But my grandmother, my nanny, was the one who raised me and the one who took me to ballet. And that hit, and I was like, so it's been that kind of week. But the other reason I want is the story to tell is I want to just say a little bit of my story here is that the past 24 hours, for whatever reason, I am vibrating at a different ratio or rate or something. And electronically this week, computer stuff and software stuff and database stuff, and the past 24 hours, my computer was not loading and emailing and wanting my passwords put back in again and blah, blah, blah. And last night, I'm trying to put together a Mother's Day talk. You know, this isn't any every Sunday. This is Mother's Day. So I'm trying to do that, and the computer wouldn't work. And Microsoft Word kept freezing and crashing and doing and well, by 11 o'clock, I said, I'm tired. I'll just do it in the morning. Okay, Spirit has another idea. So then I get up this morning and get ready to, all right, let's see what it did. And then Microsoft opens and says, I'm sorry, but something here corrupted, and you have to rebuild your thing and go to the utilities, and you don't have your database, and this is all worthless. That's basically what it said. It was like, really? Okay. And then I get here, and of course, so anyway, that's my story. That's my story. And so I had to kind of like everything and just get to this place, which is why I knew and had the wisdom to sit in on the meditation instead of sitting in my office trying to create something. But I did pull up some interesting tidbits, in addition to realizing that for whatever reason that the universe was trying to tell me in the last 24, 48 hours, don't write a talk. Don't do the usual process. You know, be willing to just stand up there and talk about Mother's Day. That's a little scary, frankly, you know, because it is, as I said, there's a certain thing about Mother's Day. Everybody has that awareness that it's unique and special, and extra flowers and brunches and cards, and then one has to actually do the work and look at those feelings about one's mother or grandmother or lack thereof, etc. So Mother's Day can be kind of loaded. To me, it's kind of loaded the way Valentine's Day is loaded for people who aren't in a relationship. Have you ever seen anyone on Valentine's Day, if we have Valentine's Day cards and parties here, and then it's those people who aren't in a relationship for whatever reason feel excluded or judged or separate. So anyone who has moved through this experience of life, and gratefully we're all here doing that, then whatever stuff one may have, whatever story one may have about their mom, it comes up, doesn't it? You know, because you've got, if you watch television or listen to the radio, you have the whole industry. Madison Avenue is really trying to get your attention to tell you that if you do not buy the right card, the right flower, the right candy, the right gift for your mom. So we have all of this stuff going on about our nature, our nurturing side, and we've attributed it to we've identified one source as being moms. And what we know here and teach is that nurturing nature is the nature of God, which is male and female, which is both yin, yang, light, dark. It is all of that nurturing nature, and we've been given the privilege and the blessing of having these wonderful women who have said yes to that idea of life, to birthing children, birthing us so that we may be here. So, the history. You know, every heart has a story to tell. Well, Julia Ward Howe and Anna Jarvis had a story to tell. Julia Ward Howe, kind of a suffragette, very well known in the women's movement in the late 1800s, really felt that we needed to do something from a maternal female angle to bring an attention and awareness to the concept of love and peace. And it was her idea originally that she staged a protest to, I always find this oxymoronic, to stage a protest for peace. But we do it all the time. We've been doing it since the 1800s or beyond and on into the 60s, etc., to wage a protest for peace. But indeed she did, with one angle about obviously stopping a war, but also to recognize and call the need and attention to what the dynamics and the effects are that happen to the world and to families when we are at war, the external part of war. So she made a declaration, and this was in 1870, and she was the first person to recognize this, and she had this extraordinary declaration, which I want to read to you. It's a little long, but I'm going to try and make it worthwhile, because I think that the idea is every mother who births into this world their creation, whether it be a living, breathing baby or the creation of something that has moved through them and outpictured as a demonstration, wants to love, nurture, care, and protect that. And so her concept was the idea of birthing these people and going out and then going to war seemed wrong to her. So she wrote, "Arise then, women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether your baptism be of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us reeking of carnage and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them about charity, mercy, and patience. We women of one country will be too tender to those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure their sons. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with its own saying, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. As men have forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of council. Let them meet first as women, to bewail and commemorate the dead, then let them solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live once and for all in peace, each bearing after his time the sacred impress of not Caesar, but of God. In the name of womanhood and humanity, I earnestly ask that a general congress of women without limit of nationality be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient and at the earliest period consistent with its objects, to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, and the great and general interests of peace. Kind of powerful, and I know it's a little disturbing, not something you normally read on Mother's Day because it didn't have hearts and flowers per se, and yet the idea being was opening up her heart, saying this is who we are as the oneness. And perhaps if I make you look at it from the point of view and perspective of a mother about one's sons and husbands and brothers, that maybe everyone will pay attention. Well, it didn't obviously work completely well, but Anna Jarvis of Philadelphia, who heard that, was the woman who started Mother's Day, and she petitioned President Wilson. They got it passed. Originally, it was the second day in June, by the way, which I thought was interesting, and then it got moved to the second Sunday in May. And she was also the one who petitioned Reverend Wilson, President Wilson, to use carnations as an acknowledgement of that, because carnations, particularly white ones, were her mother's favorite flower. So if you're holding a carnation today, it's not just Happy Mother's Day. It is, and it represents the history and the legacy of what our ancestors, particularly the female ancestors here, were trying to express and extend about the idea of peace and oneness, the oneness that they sang about this morning, too. In that softness and the reflection and the memory of, Linda said it was originally for her father, but today for the mother, that oneness, but bringing us together in that. And I don't think it's an accident that we talk about families as being family members. We talk about spiritual communities or churches as being church members, because the idea being is that we so, by our intrinsic nature, want to belong. We so want to be part of a larger dynamic. We so want to be included, acknowledged, recognized, and loved. And when we think about that, the first thing we think about really is the mother's nature, the mother's love of being raised, birthed, and brought into this world. And so it is interesting that as we grow up, whether we had a terrific childhood, a wonderful mother, or we didn't know our birth mother or later our birth father, whatever that dynamic may have been, there is that part of us that is continually seeking that spiritual community, the human community, the membership of, and we start to recreate that wherever we go out in the world. In school, we start to do it in school, right? You have little cliques, you have little clubs, because you want to belong. And then you grow up and you continue that through school, and then you go to job things, and then you've got your cubicles and your water cooler circle things. You've got that. And then you've got clubs that you join, so that you have something in common. Oh, let's all the knitters go over here. Let's all the chess players go over there. We find clubs. We go to that common ground. And then, surprise, surprise, we find ourselves at a center for spiritual living. And most of our predecessors go to church. In addition to the innate desire to have a spiritual growth, expression, and healing, one of the reasons that we do this is to be a family, is to be a community, is to be in membership. We talk about our center's members because we want that sense of belonging. We seek that out. And for those of us who may not have had the family, not everybody grew up with the Donna Reed family or the Robert Knows Young. Robert Young, Father Knows Best, or the Huxtables, or the Simpsons. Whatever family. There are days when, yeah, right? Whatever family dynamic our individual families reflect, that there's something about how we want that. We want to create that. We want more of that knowingness, even if it was difficult. And we often spend a lot of our adult lives recreating family dynamics so that we can heal them. Hence, we come to a center like this, where we get to be a spiritual family. And have you noticed anywhere around you that some of us, all of us, represent aspects of a family that you probably knew or are drawing into your life so that we could mirror, and I bet it reflects the song later. Oh, Spirit, you are so cool. It mirrors that which we need to see about ourselves. Now, occasionally, that which we need to see about ourselves is the tough stuff, the stuff that we have to look at and heal. We have a dynamic with a person in our family or in the membership. We have a dynamic by which we have conflict. Those people who push your buttons, and it's like, and those of you who are new to religious science need to, I'll give you the reminder that we often talk about the fact somebody in your life may push your buttons, but they didn't install them. Just remember that. So when somebody pushes your button, you, as a religious scientist, whether you're new or seasoned on this path, get to trace that back and go, wait a minute. What is it about this person or this situation is triggering me? What do I need to learn? And so we get to come to this wonderful family dynamic, which is kind of like a extended school, extracurricular classes, so that we can look at what it is that one or all of us represent to each other and bring it forth to a higher order and a nature of healing to be expressed and released. That's really why we get drawn here. I know it's partly for the cookies, coffee, and the music. I do know that. I don't ignore that. But there is something within you, even if there are challenges in the dynamic, whether it's at work or at school or here or in your own family now, the family you've created, that there is an opportunity with the people that you meet when there is conflict, challenge, distress, to look at it for healing. Now, on the flip side of that, just so you don't, it's like, oh my God, she reads this amazing proclamation and then she tells me I have to live in my life of family and there's conflict and healing. Breathe. Because by the same token, which I imagine that song will address, we are reflecting within each other's eyes the beauty, the magnificence, the strength, the confidence, the power, the creativity that is within each of us. That was within our family members, whether I'm talking about birth and biological blood family or the families that we have created along our way. One of the things that I think, and psychologists love to talk about this, and I've examined it, that people who are in theater or show business or whatever, that they always talk about that they create these families and they're in it so they can heal their egos and stuff. And I thought about that, and it's like, well, yeah, but so are all of we. We're in this to recreate the drama and the characters and the scenery by which we can place ourselves, reflect ourselves, and heal. And the thing that I loved about theater was that very express thing, was that, ooh, somebody would actually pay me to have a script and assignment and maybe costumes and who knows what and really great lighting and a makeup artist. But they would, and then I could go and express and learn about a facet of who I am through the character, through the author's words, through the dynamic and interaction in a show, in a play. And it's an extraordinary benefit, and frankly, I never understood why more people didn't do it. Because you get to play, in a play, all of these dynamics and have an opportunity to work them out. And then I was doubly blessed, because then when I would go home, I could use the spiritual practices and techniques of which we teach and express and encourage here to then learn from what was taking place. When we get to do that here every day, but we don't think about it. Sometimes we only think about doing it on a Sunday morning. You know, you kind of come here and you go, okay, what do I need to learn today? I'm going to listen. And then, oh, that's good, okay. Humana, done. Okay, I'm back out in the world. Oh, rah, 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 rah. Somebody will come and press a button. And this will happen. And then there are things that happen in the news, in the world around us, in our immediate families that challenge us, that provoke us, by which we have to work back to, or I'm going to suggest that we work back to, that maternal, loving nature. We were talking in practitioner class this week, and it was brought up about the fact that when you hear the phrase unconditional love, sometimes it gets attached to a something or someone. A mother has unconditional love for their child, and it's usually put into two people or two things. And what the idea really is unconditional love is, just as it is, unconditional love. It's one of the highest things to which we might aspire. And to do that, and along the path to that, really is dealing with the conditional love, the one-on-one love, the loving the one who presses your buttons with a big giant thumb, loving who you are, how you were, how you're going to be, but mostly how you are now. We talk about you are safe here, you are loved, wherever you are on your spiritual journey. And the beauty of a family or a membership, a center community, is that you get to come to a place like this, to work out some stuff, to learn some new stuff, to share all the good stuff, to support one another in the hard stuff, that you get all of this in this dynamic, and how blessed you are to have people who are walking that path with you to perhaps pat you on the back along the way, perhaps give you a little, hey, have you tried? Or just be on that other side of the line saying you can get it. You can cross that huge divide. Come on. We're holding. It's the Motel 6. We'll leave the light on. And that's what we do. And is that not the mother concept? Now, whether or not that was what your biological mother or the mother who raised you, maybe that's not what she knew, did, or understood. And yet that is something that is innately within all of us. That is the maternal side of our being, that nature, that creative, expressive, unconditional love that we are. So how wonderful it is that we have recreated this family dynamic, that we do have each other to bounce up against, that we can rally and support with one another, that we get to allow the feminine side of that loving nature, and that we get another month and another holiday, and I don't know who invented Father's Day, but I'll find out before June, so that we may do that and acknowledge that. But each of us know, those of us who are on the spiritual path and come to a center like this, where we are taking accountability and responsibility for how we live our lives, we know that we get this opportunity to look at motherhood and mothers differently. That doesn't discount the love, the respect, the flowers, the candy, the perfume, the sparkles and the confetti by which we want to shower our earth mothers. And for those of us whose earth mothers aren't here anymore, what an interesting dynamic to be able to connect and know that, and to reflect back in appreciation even for the earth mothers that weren't very motherly for whatever reason. And that if indeed every heart has a story to tell, And if indeed your story still has a little bit of a little black and blue dent on the mother's story because she didn't, couldn't, wouldn't, whatever, that perhaps this is the day, this is the time, this is the year that we get to shift that and release her from that. Maybe we could make it Amnesty Day on Mother's Day and Father's Day. An Amnesty Day so that whatever injurious situations, thoughts, or feelings we may have had or experienced with our parents, we can finally release. So that that divine concept of creation, nurturance, strength, love, and support we can embrace for ourselves, which may be why Spirit had me ask you at the top, instead of me usually just asking, because that's my charge, how may I love you today? Because that's my job, that's my charge, that's the work, that's what calls me to this, that's what it's all about. What I wanted you to do was to think about asking of yourself, how may I love me today? Whether or not it was how your mother might have loved you, wanted to love you, did love you. Wherever you are on your journey, whatever story, and I doubt it's just one story, I'm sure we have stories to tell. Whatever those stories are, that we have them. And that's wonderful because it makes up who we are. That's why we're so unique and individuated, and why we love coming to a place like this, because it's filled with, it's like a mosaic. So it's a maternal mosaic of who you are. So we get to return to a place of unconditional love and not attach anything to that, anyone to that. I'm going to unconditionally love my mother, my spouse, my animal companion, my job. No, just be in the unconditional love. And that needs to start, surprise, surprise, that needs to start here with you, here and now. So that, I think, is what Mother's Day can be about. So if Julia Ward Howe had to have this proclamation in 1870 with that, I don't know. I don't know if I'm feeling a proclamation coming on or not, but I think that there needs to be a new proclamation. And even if it's not a public one, it needs to be a personal proclamation. A personal proclamation of peace. Ooh, it's alliterative. A personal proclamation of peace, please.
Take a slice of that.
I'm happy to serve. How may I serve you today? If we can get in touch with that personal proclamation that begins with peace, that begins with, well, maybe not begins, but includes, maybe the recipe of what I'm serving, includes the forgiveness for whatever the old stories are. I'm not asking you to shred them and burn them. There are times when, you've got stuff that happens in your life, and in our classes sometimes we have sessions where it's like, okay, here's what you want to release. Okay, burn it away, shred it away. Okay, I don't want to put on it, but let's get rid of it. Let's release it, and then know that it's in there because it is part of who you are. It's not about disowning. You really can't disown, and you don't want to disown any part of you. You just want to have it be part of the family within you. Wouldn't it? Oh, yes, yes, yes. I get it. Hold it. Oh, wow. Let me see if I can articulate this. I think it's because of your song. Sorry, guys. I will speak from the first person since the insight, the hit I just got was mine. So if it resonates, my story, my life, I believe that what I have been doing is trying to recreate, I didn't even know you were still there, recreate on the outside the family that I didn't have. And I'm not going to fill in those stories because this really isn't supposed to be about a soap opera, and it's really not supposed to be just about my day here. And what I just got, hot off the internal press here, is that this whole thing has been about recreating the family of God within me as me, which means unconditional love. Boom. I'm not adding to that unconditional love and forgiveness and release of mom or dad who wasn't there. Remember last year's Father's Day story? Ooh, we get to, or no brothers and sisters, or not having this, or blah, 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 story. Does anybody play the violin? I should get John up here to play the cello while I do this. Whoa. It's not about all that. What it is about moving to that vibration, the unconditional love of God. Or spirit, call it what you will, whatever makes it more comfortable. Because for some, if I say the unconditional love of God, it taps back to a story about God being the guy in the sky with the beard and the robe who might smite you or might be kind to you. So if that triggers any of that, call it the unconditional love, the unconditional love of life, of spirit, of the presence. Don't let the verbiage trip you up. Find what works for you to reopen the heart. I'm not going to say open it because it's never really been closed. No matter how much pain, junk, obstacles, all that stuff that has come in through all of our stories, the heart doesn't close because it's meant to be open and it's meant to be loving. And when we think of a nurturing image, we mostly go to that concept of that love of a mother and child. So I say to you that whether you're male or female, mother or father, had mother or father, or variation combinations thereof, it's really about getting to that space and place today, here and now, of nurturing the nature of God that you are, the nature of spirit that you are, to live as the family of this infinite truth everywhere you go. Especially where you go here. So I'm talking about the times that you're in your head, in your heart, and you're talking to yourself, and you're saying all those negative things that maybe even your mother or father told you and said to you, that you keep playing back and forth over and over and over and over and over again, and you don't even realize that it's their voice and not yours. You think it's your voice. I didn't mean to make this a deep lesson on Mother's Day. And I appreciate your nurturing willingness to allow me this process to walk through it right in front of your eyes. Why, thank you.
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. My minister, my teacher, Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith, used to talk about the fact that when you choose to be a minister, it's about growing up spiritually, publicly. It's like, it's the rawest, nakedest thing that you can do. Yep, I agree. So, the idea of us being together in this family by choice or happenstance, because you may have been in this church for 20 plus years, or you may have suddenly been coming with someone and going, let's go, and they have music, and we'll do this, and it's fun, and it's happy, and then we get here, and we can do this together because we belong to each other, because each of us has been seeking a place to belong. Long. Be long and prosper? No. Live long and prosper? Randy, where are you? How do you do it?
Live long and prosper, baby.
Okay. Thank you. I'm not a Trekkie. But I play one on TV. Now, it's... This is a place where we belong. We belong because we're unified, that we've done that. And this is a place where we come to be. Again. No qualifiers and disclaimers at the end of that. Just come to be. And I hope that we can belong in a long way, in a long time together, in a place where we are compassionate and tolerant and creative and loving and supportive and joyous and support one another in belonging to ourselves first. So that, much like the oft-used example in a religious science church, they refer to the thing in the sounds like airports, when they give you the safety drill, and they say, moms, if we have an emergency, when the oxygen mask comes down, place it over your mouth first before you assist the kid. Which, when I first saw that, I went, no, that can't be right. You want to save the child. That's always women and children first. So you want to save the child. No. So the religious scientists took that on because the idea being you have to be whole, you have to be strong and safe in order to be the best, safest support for the child. So I'm asking you to fly along with me, and I want you to put on the oxygen, the inspiration. Remember that inspire means that breath of God, the inspiration of God to be with you first and to breathe that truth in so that you may go forward to support, heal, nurture other people, whether they're still in your lives or you're doing it retroactively. Because remember, we teach that all time is now. And there's concepts, Al Rate was saying that at the concert, that, time, scientists say that they created time so that we wouldn't all experience this kind of, at one time, this congestion of everything happening at once, and that for the humans to get it, we had to create linear time. And when we get into our cosmosity and we're doing meditations, we all know that time drops away, everything else drops away. There is that oneness. So if all time is now, and we and the quarks and the physicists agree, then if all time is now, that as we get this healing, as we nurture, as we proclaim our peace and unconditional love, we do it for those who preceded us, who may be on the other side of the veil. And we do it in concept and relationship to heal the dynamic and the family relationship we had with them. And so we can look back at them, and if there are places where there used to be tender twinges because they weren't the moms, dads, or loving people that we wanted them to be, we shift that now. And so that every heart that has a story to tell now is a story of love and joy. Love and joy. That's the bottom line. Love and joy. And I do get that other things will come in. Bottom line, returning to the love and the joy. And that's the nurturing nature of God, which is the creative force of the universe. A lot of people call it the creator, and you can't think of anything more creative than a mom giving birth. We talk about all of that. Oh my God, I could go on for hours now because you guys have unleashed something for me that will probably be about my spiritual practice for the next week or two. Or maybe it'll show up on Father's Day. Stay tuned and return again, same bat channel. I got to take us to prayer because please, will you join me in prayer? I'm going to ask this time, I sometimes do it, I sometimes don't. May I have the licensed practitioners and ministers of the church to flank me up here today? I do that partly so that you may see and acknowledge the people who, yes, Marion, even though you're on hiatus, Marion. Oh, yeah. I want you to see who they are, but today I really want them at my back. And they are the ones who say yes to this teaching and consciousness. And I think I'm going to be bold enough today. I'm going to ask our 2 practitioner intern students to join us. They are finishing up their terms, and next month they complete practitioner training, and in July they panel to become licensed practitioners. So you're familiar with them in different ways, but I'm asking Johnny and Randy to join us up here because. So please, let us go to prayer. So wherever you are right now, from the service, whatever the words and the music have stirred within you, just much like a confetti or a ticker tape parade, when you see the little pieces of paper start to float down in front of your eyes and they just continue to waft down until they eventually land on the ground or on a bush. Just let your thoughts, your feelings, just do that. Don't attach to any of them right now. And as those thoughts and feelings just dissolve, what remains is the pure and perfect presence of God that you are, that you have always been, and always will be. And so in that present moment, you breathe into who you are. You begin to allow yourself to be fully present as I speak this spiritual mind treatment in first person. I do that so you may speak it along with me if you choose, in your head. As I breathe in this infinite truth, I know that I am one with God. I know that I am the beloved child of Spirit. I am that I am. I am the beloved in whom God is well pleased. And I know that I had an opportunity to live a human life to understand now fully and completely my divinity. That I needed to do no thing in order to receive that unconditional love of Spirit. And so today, in honor of my birth mother, or my adopted mother, or my surrogate mother, or my neighbor mother, the mother that supports you in any way, shape, or form, in their honor, I now say yes to being that maternal nature that nurtures my own being, myself, my capital S self. That I rise from my little small s self into the capital S self, and I say yes to telling a new story and letting that story be filled with love, forgiveness, gratitude, and joy. And that today I am feeling so clear about that is the prayer in my heart and my lips for everyone on this planet. I don't care what community or membership one belongs to, whether it's a church or a ashram or a synagogue or the auditorium basement somewhere in a high school. Wherever it is that someone is seeking peace and prayer today, particularly on Mother's Day, because they have a story to tell in their heart, I sing a different song, tell a different story. So that person, male or female, that animal, that living creature may find its way to its own eternal and internal nature of wholeness. That's my prayer. Giving the gift of life to myself so that I may be that gift of life to others. So I give thanks for the carnations and the candy and the brunch and the cards and the flowers, the smiles and the emails. I give thanks for the mothers who are still here to remind us of that sacredness. And I give thanks for the awareness and awakening of the maternalness within me to be all that I am, with love and joy and gratitude. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you for this opportunity to share this. I now take all of the service, this prayer, and I release it. And I create new confetti that falls on someone else's head and surrounds them like fairy dust, surrounds them, and it dissolves into them, and they feel that love, and they may not know where it came from. But right now, there's that opportunity for someone to go, oh, yes. I'm grateful for that yes. I release this. I let it be. I ask that you join me as we say together, and so it is, and so I am, and so we are. Amen. Don't do that. I don't want to cry in front of them.
Surrounded by unconditional love.
And Spirit had its way with you today.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.